Page 28, make the world go away. Right hand, melody's the top note. That's what we want to hear. All this other stuff is harmony. Try and bring out the top note if you can. Otherwise, it's this. And the melody can get buried. So just put a little extra weight on the top note. A lot of eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Hopefully that's not a problem. Over on page 29 in the second line, second measure, the little grace note, I'm going to play that with the A very quickly. So that line would be this. 1 and 2 and 3. Melody's the top note. That's what we want to hear. That's the melody. The other is just a flourish. The trick is you got to do this quickly, but your weight's on the little finger. So you got to work on that. You're hitting these two notes, but the weight's on the little finger, and that's a short note. So you may have to practice that move because you're going to get it a lot if you play country western music much. At the bottom of page 29, second ending, watch the fingering, because you're playing that C with second finger. Immediately substitute the thumb. That's what the 2-1 means. And then in the last measure on that chord, well, if you take all 4 of these notes, take that whole note and those eighth note together, it's a chord. It's an extended C chord. That's the fingering for the chord, so that's what I'm recommending on that chord. Play it 2, 3, 5. Just roll it real quick. I'm going to hold it an extra beat because of the fermata, you know how it goes. That's the right hand, a lot there. In the left hand you have this pattern, and it's typical with boogie woogie or country western music type of thing. You have this. Again, I'm just rolling the weight from hand. I'm not trying to use the fingers. Next line, it's moving around a little bit, but it's the same basic pattern. So much for the left hand. Let's talk about this pedal. Now again, I want to adjust the pedal slightly, but I want to explain to you what's going on so you can understand what the pedaling is about so that you can apply these principles or concepts to other pieces. It's too easy to just say, well, pedal here and don't pedal here and pedal here, and you have no idea why. So I'm trying to explain why. At the beginning is fine, and the reason we're pedaling this is because when you play repeated notes on a piano, you cannot connect them. There's always a little speck of silence between them. So we want to connect them. We use the pedal, and that's the only reason we're pedaling at the beginning of this. And you're only pedaling the notes that the E's and the G's. Once you go to the D and the F, you lift up. Like so. And then in the next line, we're doing it more for the whole harmony thing. I recommend you change the pedal on the second beat or don't pedal the first beat, because we don't want to catch all of this in one pedal. Ugh. So it's either don't pedal the first beat and pedal the second, or change the pedal on the second beat. I'll leave that up to you. Whatever, try it one way, try it another, and play it again, try it another way. Things are repeated so you can do it each way. Second line, we don't pedal those eighth notes, we don't want to smear them. And then on these long held out notes, we're going to add the pedal for the harmony. It adds a little more, it adds a little bit to the sound. I know it smears the left hand. That's part of the effect we're after. And then on the third line, I would lift the pedal up with the hands after the first beat to put a break before you go on. And then pedal right there because we want to connect these repeated notes. And then lift up on those, and on the fourth line down, I would not pedal that measure. We don't want to smear any of that. Just hold the half note in the left hand down the first full 2 counts. I can't talk. And the last measure of the of the page there on page 28, I would change pedal on that last measure to lose all that sound. We want to, at the end, we only want to hear the C's. I don't want to hear anything else. So the last two measures on page 28 is that. And then lift up with the hands so there's a break in the sound before we go on, because it's a whole new phrase, a whole new thought. And again, we're pedaling to connect the repeated notes. But I would not pedal that third beat. We don't want to smear that. If I pedal all that, it's this. I know it doesn't last very long. I don't care. I'm not going to pedal the last beat in that measure. Then back to you. And then in the second line, you got a choice. You pedal it like they're saying to. If you don't like that smearing thing, then you'd have to lift the pedal up on the, like the last beat. We want to connect the A's. We have two A's. Pedal has to be down for that. So if you're not going to pedal the last beat, make sure you get it down before you finish the first A. And that's kind of tricky. It may be easier just to do it the way they're suggesting and pedal, legato pedal. Like so. Because they're suggesting to pedal the first beat of the next measure. And typically we wouldn't do that because we wouldn't want to smear it. We wouldn't pedal until the second beat. So I'll leave that up to you. Experiment with the pedaling and how well you're pedaling and how well you can control it as to what you're pedaling on that second line. Now, again, just a quick recap. Your choices are pedal it exactly like they're showing you. This way. If you want. Or you can not pedal it on the last beat of the first measure, but then you've got to hold it down real quick before you go to the next measure to catch the A's, but then don't pedal it on the first beat of the next measure. That made no sense at all to anybody but me, but it's like this. It's a little trickier, but it just takes out some of the blurriness. Third line, lift the pedal up with the left hand because it's coming from the previous measure. So we have a break in the sound before we go on, but you want to connect those repeated notes. So you're going to have the pedal down for those and then lift it up when you play the B. So it's here. Then pedal this measure, and then the last measure is similar to over what we did on page 28, where we don't pedal the measure, but be sure and hold the left hand half note down the full 2 counts. Now at the bottom, on the first ending, the first measure is okay. Then I would lift the pedal up with the hands on the second measure so we get a little break in the sound before we go on, but you want to connect those repeated notes. So the first ending is this. And lift it up on that when you do the DF because we don't want to smear that. It's like at the beginning of the piece, the same pedaling there, and then you repeat back. Now for the second ending, you pedal it just like they're telling you to. It's fine, it's no problem. As far as dynamics, again, you experiment with the dynamics. It starts out sort of soft, and then when you get at the top of page 29 where you're making the world go away, it's a little more exciting. You get a little louder. The piece never gets really loud. It's just kind of a sad piece. You just, make the world go away, and like that's really going to happen. Have a drink or something. I don't know. It's what you do, I guess. Now, it is a slow piece. You'll find all kinds of recordings of this. It's a beautiful piece. this has a pickup measure, believe it or not, because you got all those eighth notes that say pickup measure. Yeah, it's 1/8 note short of a full measure. So it's a pickup measure technically. So we're starting on the and of 1. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. If you look at the last measure there at the bottom of 29, it has 1/8 note in it. And that's beat 1. Huh, isn't that cool? So I'm going to give us 4.5 and then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You know what I mean. I know you do. Now there is a note at the bottom of page 28 that we can do these eighth notes in long short pairs. That means we can swing the eighth notes. So it's like at the beginning, instead of this, we can do it this way. Frankly, I don't care. I mean, this piece really sounds fine with straight eighth notes, but you can try it swinging. And I'll keep in mind that the first notes in here are pickup notes, and that first eighth note is a short one, because the long one would be the last note in the piece down at the bottom. So it's short. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So it's here. 1. Now when I get to the end of a piece and I'm doing long short like this and I slow it down, I tend to take out the long short. So like that last measure, when it's here, let's go 1, 2, 3. I might do that last few eighth notes even, just to switch it up as I go slow. I smooth them out, so to speak. It's just a style. When we do the play with me, we ain't slowing down, so you can just keep it going. So let's try this out with swinging the eighth notes, long and short. I'll give us 4.5 counts. Yeah. So right hand's here, left hand's here, foot's on the pedal. We are so ready. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and go.